something like that. So I tried doing it on my phone. I tried downloading Microsoft Excel on my phone. So wasn't able to follow up like that.
Okay.
Hopefully today. Yeah, sorry.
No problem. That's fine. So, Mr. Camphon, you are in the data analysis class by Infinix Tech Cloud. So, although we'll be rounding off our tester class very soon, but one of the reasons why I said I should take your number is so that I'm going to just brief you a little of what we've covered. So today we've done some introduction, some just few practicals, but I'm going to start from something fresh today. So at least you could follow up on this class, regardless of what you've missed the other classes. So Tofumi and Othniel will be doing a little bit of practical in Power BI. So I want to show you what Power BI looks like, what Power BI can do. So first of all, I'm going to download a data set from Kaggle. Remember the first class I told you about Kaggle. Kaggle is a website where you can get data from tons of data are there. So you can get any data from there to practice. So today I want us to look at a typical data analyst role handling the data. So aside from what we've been doing in Excel, we're going to continue the next class, but I just want to chip it in so that you understand what Power BI is. So first of all, I'm going to share my screen. Let me quickly bring out the slide. So I'll share my screen. Do you have any questions from the last class?
I kind of got lost at one point because I think my network disconnected me when we first just ended. So uh up until where we did what they call it, the present, absent, excuse sheets. I th- I think that's where we ended, right?
Yes, we also did percentage.
Okay, yes. But I'll rewatch the videos just in case. Don't worry, you can continue. I'm not sure I have any question right now. If I do, I will hit you.
Okay, okay, that's fine. Let me quickly share the content for today. Okay. So I don't want to share the slides now until when we have a full house, so I'm not going to repeat it. So let me just show you where I'm getting my data from. It's from Kaggle. Entire screen share. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So this is the Kaggle website. So if you want to get data from here, you would have to log in or sign up to this website to be able to download a data set. So the data set I'm going to be using today is student performance and behavior data set. So when you go to Kaggle, you go to home, you're going to see data sets here. So this data set is going to go to education, and the second data set, student performance and behavior data set. So that's the data set we are working on today. So Mr. Kempfon, what we are trying to do is to be able to create a dashboard on Power BI that is going to give us an insight on the data that is going to be here. So data analysis is all about gaining insights from data to be able to solve problems, to be able to give business-driven decisions, sorry, data-driven decisions. So you're going to go to download. So this is the data set. When you click here, you're going to download the whole data set. I've already downloaded it. So this is just a brief overview of what this data set is all about. So This data set is a real data of 5,000 records collected from a private learning provider. So this is a real data. So the data set includes key attributes necessary for exploring patterns, correlations, and insights related to academic performance. So this data set has student ID, first name, last name, email, gender, up until this very last part. So now they said this data set also contains missing values in some records, bias in some data, and imbalanced distribution. So this is already like an information we should have in mind, that the data set is not typically clean, which is going to take us to our data cleaning process. So just a little documentation that is going to guide us to be able to handle this project. So when you have a data or a data set, you should be able to know what you want to achieve with this data set, the questions you're trying to answer. So I just developed a little document in that regard. So this is it. So this document has what the data set is all about, what the insights we are going to gain from this data set, and the steps to create this dashboard in Power BI. So from this data set, we should be able to understand the academic performance trends. We should be able to also know the student demographics analysis. We should know the lifestyle and academic correlation, attendance and performance, and all of this, both stress and academic performance, overall student performance from that data set. So I've not opened this data set in Excel. I want us to do it from the scratch. So let me go back and open it. Download. Okay, I think it has not entered. Let me quickly download it again. Okay. All right. So this is how the data is now. So all those columns we saw at first, the student ID, the first name, the last name, the email, up until sleep hour, everything is here. So this is the data set we're going to work on today. You might be surprised that, oh, I said we're going to work on Power BI. So what are we doing in Excel? First of all, you have to save your work here in Excel because that's where you're going to import it from. So when you go to Power BI, you're going to import the data from Excel. Do you understand? So let me quickly do some touches here before I move them to Power BI. So this is the gender, the age, the department, the attendance, midterm score, final score, assignment average, quiz average, participant score, project score, total score, grade, study hours, extracurricular activities, internet access at home, parent education level, family income level, stress level, sleep hours. So I'm not going to change anything here. Remember that they told us the first time that some of these data sets contains missing values. So you can see that in this parent education level, you can see that most of them are not complete. They are missing. So you might decide to delete this whole information, or you might decide to continue working with this data set like this. So I'm going to save it. I'm going to save as Power BI practical so that it's easier to put in Power BI. So if you've not downloaded Power BI, you have to download it. No, let me quickly receive this. Student performance data. Okay, so now I'm in Power BI. I'm opening my Power BI application. Are you following? Is anybody just joining the class? Let me see. Anybody's just joining. Okay. Tofumi and who? Okay, Tofumi and Oatmeal. Tofumi and Oatmeal, are you following me?
Yes, I'm following.
Okay. So now this is Power BI. So although Power BI has a sample data that you can work on to use and learn how Power BI functions, but we're not going to use that sample data today. The data we're going to use is this data that I've worked on. So I've opened my Power BI now. I'm going to first of all go to blank reports. Then I can import my data from Excel. So I can decide to use this interface, or I can decide to use get data. And then I'm getting this data from an Excel workbook. So I'm going to go to downloads, because that was where I got it from. Student performance data. Student grading data set. Okay. Open. So now it's going to import this data. It's going to establish a connection and import the data from Microsoft Excel, because Power BI accepts data from Microsoft Excel. So now this is a preview of what the data looks like. From here, you can decide to load your data immediately, or you can decide to transform your data first of all before loading it in Power BI. Loading your data means that you're not going to make any changes. You can make changes afterwards, but you're loading this exact data you got from Excel first. But if you decide to transform your data, then you can decide to remove some informations, change some information, and then load it. So the one you're going to load is going to be like a new data set. So I'm going to click on transform data set so that we can quickly glance at it to know if there's anything we need to change. So now when you click on transform data, it takes you to Power Query Editor. In Microsoft Excel, we also have Power Query, and we also have Power Query here in Power BI. So when you click on transform data, it's going to take you straight to Power Query Editor. So now one thing you should understand in this Power Query Editor is any performance you make here, anything you do here in the Power Query Editor, you can't just easily go back to maybe Control Z to undo what you did. You have to delete it from these applied steps. So if you've applied any step and you made a mistake and you want to go back, you're going to delete it from these applied steps. You can't do Control Z. So it's one thing you should remember when working with the Power Query Editor. So now I can decide to remove this email, because this email is not correct. It's just saying student0@university.com, student1@university.com. So it's not really the main email. Maybe they didn't put the main email due to maybe security reasons or privacy. So we have to delete this. So I'm going to click on this column. This is a drop down. Sorry, I'm going to right click and delete column or remove. So I'm going to remove this column from this data set. So now this performance that I did here, this action I took here, you can see that it has come here to these applied steps and it has saved here. So if I made a mistake by deleting that column and I click Ctrl Z, I've clicked Ctrl Z now, but you couldn't see it because it's on my keyboard. It's not going to work until I come here to remove columns and undo that step, and it's going to go back. But nevertheless, I'm still going to delete the column because I do not need it. So I'm going to remove the column. So another information here that might not be necessary, let's look at internet access at home. Okay, internet access at home is very important. We should leave that. Then family income level, stress level, sleep hours per night. Okay, I think this is good. There's nothing to delete again from here. So we can continue with this. So if you want to continue with this and you will now want to move it to Power BI, up here you are going to see close and apply. So that means you are closing the Power Query editor and you are applying this transformed data. So I'm going to close and apply. So apply changes. So now it's creating a connection in the model and it's going to bring in the transformed data into your Power BI, which is going to take just a little while for it to come in. So Power BI, the interface in Power BI is totally different from the interface in Excel. So Power BI is not used for, imputing your data as in rows and columns. It's Microsoft Excel that can best handle that. So we've been able to import our data here in Power BI. So now this is the section in which our data is going to be at this place. So this whole thing you are seeing here now, student grading data, this is just like the workbook. Remember that in Microsoft Excel, we saved it as student grading data. So that is the workbook. So inside this workbook now, or inside this sheet, we now have different columns. So these are all the columns now inside this data. These are all the columns inside this data. You might be wondering, what are these summation signs in front of them? Anywhere you see this summation sign, it shows that that column has to do with numbers. So age is obviously an integer, assignment average is an integer, department is a string, is a text, so there is no summation sign at the front. So anywhere you see any of these summation signs, what it means is that that column you are working on is a number. Do you understand? So now this is our interface, our Power BI interface. Another thing you should take note of is this side of your interface. So here is the report view where we are going to be creating our dashboards. Then here is the table view, which is it has the same like to Microsoft Excel. So now this is the table view for us to still be able to see how this data is in a table like view. Then here is the model view. So this model view is what is going to show us if any data we're working on has a relationship with, maybe in case I brought in more than one data or more than one table. So if any of these tables have a relationship, it's going to show us here in the model view. We've not gotten to that. If you can remember, when I was introducing Excel, the last class, I told us that we're going to talk about relationships. But this data is a single data. There's no relationship with any other data. So there is no relationship diagram here. Then this one here is DAX. So DAX is used to run queries. DAX is used for calculations, calculated measures. DAX is the only complicated part in Power BI, and we're going to get there. But today we just want to do the basics of dashboard creation in Power BI. So I'm going to go back to the report view. So this is the place where we are going to be creating our dashboard. One more thing you should understand here is these visualizations. So this is where the design is going to take place. So you need to be a fan of colors, be a fan of, knowing how to mix colors, knowing how to create new designs to make your dashboard look fancy enough. So let me quickly go and search for dashboards in Power BI so you can see what a dashboard looks like. So let me say dashboards in Power BI, just for you to have a glance. So images, okay, I think this is the best. Yeah. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, it's taking time. Okay. So this is what a dashboard looks like now. So Power BI is not going to give you maybe a template for you to work on. You will be the one to create the dashboard template that you want. You need to know how to play around with colors. Maybe if you're working on a business and that business already have a color pattern, you might want to work with their color pattern. So this is a typical example of what a dashboard looks like. And I think this dashboard is interactive. Yes, it's interactive. So you can see if you click on months, it's going to show you different months in a year. If you click on year, it's going to show you the web traffic in different years. So here we have total unique views, we have average time on a page, we have page exits, device sessions, the highest device. That means the desktop was the highest device used to log into their website, the highest channel sessions, sessions by device. So this is a typical example of what a dashboard can do. So we should be able to create this today. So let me now move on, since we've seen an example of what it looks like. So I'm going to try to just recreate just this design, white and blue, not the information inside the dashboard, just to use this design for you to understand how well we can work with designs. So this is your visualization pane, where you're going to be working around your designs, your visualizations, how you want your dashboard to look like. So this plain white side you're seeing here now, that has all these things now, this plain white side from here, this is your canvas. So you can decide to change this color. And how will you do that? When you want to design anything on Power BI, you need to first of all click on that thing you want to design. So since we want to change maybe this canvas to black or blue or red, I'll have to click on this space, which is this white space. So it's already there. I don't need to click on it again because it's already there. So now that it's here, I'm going to go to this side, format your page. So yeah, this has all the information for this page, your canvas background. If you want to bring in a wallpaper, you want to see the settings of your background, if you want it to be in portrait form or landscape form, this is all the design that has to do with your canvas. So I'm quickly going to change it to maybe light blue. Okay, so I'm actually going to change it to light blue so we can see that we've changed the canvas background. So now these visualizations you are seeing here, these are different kind of charts, and different charts are for different purposes. We have the map charts here, we have slicer, we have bar charts, we have column charts. So you cannot be using a map chart when you want to gain an insight from a column that has to do with age, or from a column that has to do with summation, because you can't do that on a map chart. What you should be doing on a map chart is, if you want to gain an insight on an information that has to do with location, then you can bring in a map chart. But first of all, from this data, we should be able to know the questions we want to answer. So the first question here is, we should be able to gain insights on their academic performance trends, average scores of students per department, correlation between attendance and final scores, comparison of midterm versus final scores. So I'm just going to choose one. Um, Othniel, do you have Microsoft Power BI on your laptop?
I don't even have Microsoft Word right now or Excel. I don't have the Microsoft Office. I reset my laptop, so I've not been able to install that.
Okay. So for me, do you have?
Yes, I do. Yes.
So are you following? Have you been able to download the data set?
Not yet.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, let's continue. So I'm going to first of all name this dashboard. So to be able to name this dashboard, I'm going to bring in a text box. So this text box is going to have the student performance dashboard. So I'm going to edit this. So anything you're doing on Power BI, you just have to continue editing. If not, it's not going to make sense. So I'm going to move this to the middle and I'm going to edit it so that's going to be good. So I'm going to increase the font from 10 to 24. One second, let me move this to the middle. So this text box, I can change. You can see that it's showing white inside here. So for me to be able to change the color here, I'm going to click on the text box. It's already clicked. I'll go to properties. And I'm going to change the background there. So the effect is the background here is white. So I'm going to change it to the same background that's see, and I'm going to increase the transparency. So now we have student performance dashboard. I can decide to make this bold. So I'm trying to recreate what we are seeing here, which is web traffic. It might not be exactly, but I'm just showing you the steps on how you can do it. So now we have the student performance dashboard. So I'm going to go straight to explaining how you can use this chart. So now the first chart I'm going to bring in here is the card chart. So the card chart is used for aggregation, is used for summation. So from this card chart, since I want to know maybe how many students we have in the data set, when I click on the card chart, then for me to gain an insight of what this card chart is going to have, I will now choose the data which I want to be evident in this card chart. I've already clicked on the card chart, but it's not visualizing anything. So for me to get an insight, I have to click on the data that I want. So which information here will be able to tell me how many students we have here. I can also know how many departments. I can know how many extracurriculum activities they have. I can also know the total score of attendance. But first of all, I want to know how many students they have. So I can decide to use gender because the gender is going to distinctively count how many females and how many males, giving us the total amount of students. So if I click on gender, it's going to give me the summation here. So now it's giving me female. It's not giving me how many genders are there because the information in that gender is not a number. If it was a number, it was going to have the summation sign in front of it. But because it's not a number, it was just showing me female or male. So I'll have to impute a calculated measure in this gender for it to tell me how many students we actually have in this gender. And now that's going to lead me to bringing in calculated measures. And what are calculated measures? Calculated measures are trying to gain calculations from a column. This gender now has just female and male. It doesn't have the total amount. But using calculated measures, I could be able to know how many genders we have here. So I'm going to click on that column and I'm going to add new measure, which is calculation. So I'm going to name this I'm going to name this measure as total students. So now the total students is going to be equals to sum, open brackets, sum of gender, close bracket. Then instead of me to click this gender as the information that's going to be in the card, down here, this measures I've created has gone to this down place to stay as total students. So the difference between the normal column and the calculated column is that you're going to see this different icon here. So this is specifying that this total student is from a calculated measure. So I'm going to click on this for me to be able to see how many students you have. Okay, let me remove gender first. I'll remove gender and I'll click on total students. Okay, let me quickly do that again. Please, are you following? Am I too fast? Are you understanding what I'm doing? I should just go back to Excel. Sophie and Otnell.
Yes, I understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
What have I been doing so far? A quick one, so that I'm sure we're on the same page.
I think you
So
just
we are trying to.
entered. Okay.
Okay, one at a time. Someone was talking.
Okay.
Okay, so good.
So for me, you go ahead. You go ahead first.
What you're trying to do, Ma, because the gender that you selected in order to get the card, the accurate number, the total number of students, the gender was imputed in alphabets and not in letters, in words. That's what I mean. So you are trying to create a calculated column that will be like a sum of all the genders. And that is exactly what you have done. A lot of what you have done with the formula that you just imputed.
Okay. Okay, next person.
Okay. Based on what Tofumi said, we're trying to get the
Not
number of
based on what
students.
Tofumi said, though. Based on what you
No,
understood.
no. I know. I understand. Okay, we're trying to get the number of people that participated in the exam and number. Let's just say the number of people in the class and what have you. So we're going to use this card visualization, and the card visualization just do not make use of alphabets, just numerical figure summations, like you said. And the first time when you put the gender was alphabets text, and that's why it wasn't showing to just showing female and first gender. But the reason you were able to get this was because it uses this card visualization uses numerical figures. So that's how it was able to calculate and bring out the result of 5,000 students.
Okay. Okay, let me quickly do it again. Thank you so much. It shows that you are listening. Thank you. But I just feel I should do it again so that you understand it better. So the card visualization is for showing aggregates, for showing summation. And I want to know the total students in this data set. If I use age, it might be correct. If I use first name, it might be correct. But I need something that's going to give me a more accurate answer, which is the gender, because it's going to now automatically tell me how many students are there, both male and female. So it's going to give me the correct answer. So if I bring in this card, which is the normal card for summation, and first of all, I'll have to click on the data that's going to show in the card. So let's say I click on this age now. It's going to give me summation of age, which is 105,000 age, which is not correct because I've not counted it distinctly. There's a way I'm going to use count distinct to give me the main summation of like how many people are in this age bracket, how many people are in this age bracket. But it's just for you to see that this card visualization is strictly for giving summation. So I've clicked on this age and it gave me a summation based on the data that is there. So now if I click on gender, it's not going to give me a summation. It's just going to bring out a random text because these are the text that's inside that gender column. So to get a calculation based on this column that is with a text, I'll have to bring in a calculated column. So that column is a calculated column because I got the answer from an initial column that was not calculated. So I'm going to bring in a new measure. So this calculated column is also in Excel, but in Power BI, it's called measure. So for me to bring in this new measure now, I'm going to click here and you're going to see new measure. So now this is where we're going to So now this formula you're seeing now is also these DAX that I showed you here. The last one I showed you DAX. That DAX is used for writing formulas. So this is also a basic DAX. So now, instead of me to use measure equals to, I'm now going to say total students equals to. So now this total students now is automatically the name of the new column. So the total students is going to be count. Why I said let me repeat it again is because before what I did was sum. So now I remember that when we were working on Excel, I told you the difference between sum and count. So now it is not sum, it's not going to sum the genders, it's going to count the genders. So when I used sum before, it didn't work. I made a mistake and I had to put count. So it's going to be total students equals to count. So now this counts, you can see that we also have count A, count blank, distinct count. Very similar to the counts we had in Excel, but this one there's no count if or count ifs. But with the understanding we have in Excel, it's easier for us to understand what these things also mean here in Power BI. So now we are going to use the normal count. So we're going to say count the gender, which is this one. Then we'll close the bracket and enter it. So now this new measure that we've calculated is now here as total students. This new measure is also going to interact with other data that we have here, because now it's a column on its own. If I want to export this data now out of Power BI, the new data I'm going to have is going to have a different column on its own as total students, because I've imputed this column into this data by using a calculated measure. So now if I click on this, I'll now be able to see how many students that we have, which is 5,000 total students. So now from these total students, we can now start breaking them down into departments. So now let me do the same for departments. If I want to know how many departments we have, if I click on departments, it's just going to show business first department. It's not going to show actually how many departments that we have. So now I'll also create a measure for that. So the measure is going to be, I'll click on this place and I'm going to go to new measure. Sorry. Then I'm going to name this department, total department equals to count departments. Then I'm going to click on this. So now it's also showing me 5,000 departments. So this information might be wrong because it's not possible that I'm going to have 5,000 departments. So what am I going to change? I'm going to say count distinct. So it's not just going to count how many rows are in that department. It's counting the distinct department. So it's going to be equals to count distinct. Sorry, distinct count. In Excel is count distinct. Power BI is distinct count. So it's going to be distinct count department. Sorry, department, not attendance. Department. Yes, we now close the bracket. So you can see that altogether, what they have is actually 4 departments. So it's 4 departments that is making up the total of these 5,000 students. And I feel even these 5,000 students might not be correct. Let me put distinct count to be sure that it's correct. Let me click on total students and edit the formula. Let me quickly edit the formula. Distinct count. Okay. Why is showing me 2 is because it's going to count female and male only. because those are the distinct information that is there, female and male. That's why it gave me 2. That means originally we have 5,000 students. That means the first formula is correct. I just had to do a cross check. So it's showing me only 2 because the distinct information that are there is female and male. That is why it's giving me 2. But why it gave me 4 for total departments is because it's 4 departments that are actually there. So each of these departments were repeated more than once for it to now make up for 5,000 students. So let me quickly change this distinct count before I forget. So now this is 5,000 students. So now I've been able to know that we have 5,000 students, we have 4 departments, and which other total measure can we also generate from here? Okay, I think that's all. So we have these 2 cards for summation. Then now we can now have a more elaborate chart, which is the column chart. So I'm going to bring in the column chart, which is this one. Okay, no, let me not use this one. Let me use the normal column chart, not the clustered column chart. This is the normal column chart. Are we on the same page? Please, do you understand this distinct counts and the normal counts?
Yes, distinct count.
Okay. So departments and gender. So I want to know how many gender is in each department. Total departments and total students. Let me quickly increase this. Okay. Okay, now, so what is this chart showing me? This chart has male and female. Look at this data now. For me to be able to get this output, I had to click on gender and I had to click on students. So this output is going to be, they are going to give me the total students. If I had clicked on only total students using the column chart, it's just going to give me 5K. You can see that this one, the data label is on 5K here. Even when I click on it, you're going to see total students 5,000. But to see the comparison now, so I'm now doing total students by gender. So now bringing in this normal gender now that is not a total measure is now going to differentiate how many students based on the different gender. So I really don't need to go and put total students by department. No. If I want to see total students by department, then I will click on total students and I will just go and click on the normal department. So I can now see the 4 departments. Remember that they said the departments are 4. So I can now see computer science, engineering, business, and mathematics, meaning that this measure column that I created is a very important column for this analysis to work. So I don't want to see the departments yet. I'm just going to bring just the gender. So let me do that again for you to catch up. So first of all, you're going to click on the chart that you want to visualize that information, which is the column chart, the clustered column chart. This is the clustered column chart now. So I'm going to expand this so that you're going to see the output. So first of all, you will click on total students. So now it has given me the total students are 5,000. So now I'm going to do this total students by gender. So now it has broken it down for me. So here we have 2,551 male, and 2,449 male. So now I'm also going to bring in for departments and total students. So I'll click on, now I can bring bar charts. So I can click on bar charts, I'll expand it, then click on the information I want inside the bar chart. So I'm going to make this total students by department. Do you understand? So now this is the total students by department. So another thing I can do here for easy analysis is to add the data labels. So the data labels is automatically going to point at where the values are represented in. So I'm going to just right click here. So I'll right click on the chart and click on data labels for the thing to label where the data stopped. I think it's in this place. Okay, that's going to take me to a whole lot of designing, but this is the data labels. So now you're now seeing the information. So you don't need to start tracing where the bar chart stop or where the chart stops. So on top, you can automatically see the data that each data bar is representing. So male is 2,551, female is 2,449. So I'm going to also do this for the department. I'm going to click on the data labels. Where am I getting these data labels from? Remember that I told you that if you want to design anything in Power BI, you have to first of all click on what you are designing. So if I click on this total students and I want to design the total students, when I click on total students, this is the normal chart. So the next place is where I can design that chart. So for the to design that chart, I'm going to see visual, I'm going to see general. So it's from these two places I can move around to design this particular chart. But if I want to design this department, I will click on department. Then this is the normal phase of the normal chart. Then the next place is where you're going to now design this place that I've clicked on. So you can see that the design for this chart now is different from the design from the other card charts, because there are two different charts. So it's from here you're now going to see different features you can bring in. That was where I brought these data labels from. So for general is if you now want to change the background of the chart is from general. So sometimes why is good is that if I had first of all designed a particular chart, I can always repeat that chart, then change the information. So I don't need to always go to one chart and design, go to another chart and design, and all of that. So if you design a particular chart, you can now continue using that format. But I'm not doing that yet. First of all, I want to show you how you can bring out the information in the dashboard first before we now talk about designing. So another basic information we can get from this data is grade. We can get grade. So now I want to know the department with the highest grade. So now, since for me to get the students by department, I had to click total students and the normal column for department. If I want to get the grades by department, which columns am I going to click on? It's a question, no? Tofumi and Othniel. If I want to visualize the grades by department, that means I want to know, oh, engineering, are they the one with the highest grade? Business administration, business department, are they the ones with the highest grade? If they're the ones with the highest grade, that means that department was the best department for that year or for that session. So if I'm going to visualize this, which columns am I going to add to be able to do this?
We're going to add grade column, and we're going to add department.
So the department, is it total department or normal department?
By total department.
Okay, total department and grade.
Grade.
Okay, did you show? No. That didn't show. So let's try total students
Yeah, total student.
grade. Exactly.
But it's showing ABC.
You know the grades. They graded them in A, B, C, D, and all of that. So now it's now showing us that this amount of people are the people with A that scored A. These ones are the people that scored B, but it's not bringing out which department they are in. So let's
I
check.
think we've not added departments column to it. So I feel if we add department column to it, it will bring the grade, the total students of the department.
Okay, so now bringing that in now, that means we are working with 3 informations on a chart, right?
Yes.
Okay, so to be able to use 3 informations on a chart, it's not going to be the normal column chart that we've been using. So now this
We're going
is
to use cluster
line.
column.
No, clustered column
Okay.
is the normal two columns. But now since we are dealing with 3 columns, we are now going to bring in line and clustered column charts. So there's going to be a trend now because now we are dealing with more than 2 columns. So if I bring this line and clustered column now we have x-axis, column y-axis, line y-axis. So we can decide to put total students in x-axis. Let me drag it to x-axis. Why is it not staying there? Then we'll put departments in y-axis. Then we'll put grade in x-axis. So I'm going to remove 1. Okay. So looking at this, it's already showing us that mathematics, they are the ones with the lowest grades because the trend started from computer science down to mathematics. But let me do it again. I feel I'm missing something. Total students and grade. Okay, it's the same thing. Okay. So it's showing us that the trend started from computer science. So the computer science students are the ones that have the highest grade. Let me quickly rearrange these charts for it to accommodate other informations. I hope you are following.
Hold on, clear.
Yes.
Okay. I want to rearrange this so that it can enter. Okay. So moving on, which other? Okay. So we can also know how many students have access to internet access. So I can use a funnel for that. Funnel is one of the interesting charts I like using. Internet access and total students. So now it's giving me the clear comparison that 4,000 students have access to internet access, while 1,000 students, they don't have access to internet access at home. Then which other information can, please, looking at this data now, which other information can we bring? I don't want to use that other documentation that I brought. Please, which other insights can we gain from this data?
maybe attendance, the total students.
Okay. Total students and attendance.
And
Let's see.
departments. I think that those three. Student attendance and departments.
No. Mhm. Okay. Wait, let me quickly do something.
How do we change? How do we restructure this?
Restructure it how? What do you mean by restructuring?
On my end, it was showing a straight line, then a double line, a double column. Then I think it started showing like this three, this five, what do you call it, columns. Or
Which one?
did you use?
Which column are you talking about?
Okay, you're doing it by gender. Okay, I think it's
Yes,
because
I'm
you
doing.
changed the column. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Sum of
Just got
attendance
my
by gender. Then I also want to know the highest extracurricular activity, which activity are they always joining? Extracurricular activity and department.
extracurricular activity, students and departments. I think those three. Yeah.
Department, okay. Okay, let's remove department first. Let's just put this 4. So that I'm going to also explain slicers, how slicers can help this data to look more understandable. Let me remove this one first to come back to that. You know that in your Power BI, it's not must that all your information must be filled inside one page. You can have different pages. So this is page 1. This is you can have up to
Okay.
4 pages. So your first page should be your overview. So your first page is going to give you the basic overview. So looking at that your first page, you should just understand that, oh, this is how many of this is how many of this is how many of this. So moving on to the next pages, you can now decide to now digress your information using other criteria. Do you understand? So the first page should be your overview. So it mustn't be filled with all the informations you want. This page already has students by gender, attendance by gender, attendance by department, how many students have internet access in their home. So I feel this information is enough for now. Then if you want to add more pages, you're now going to make sure that the two your pages are connected together. So any changes you have in your first page is also going to show in your second page, but definitely we can't do that today. This is just the first basic page because we will still have to design this to look standard. So now we have, so now if I choose this, let me say I just click on computer science department, you can see that all these other charts now has changed. So now this 5,000 students has changed to 2,022 students. Then it's showing me just one department, which is that computer science. If I click engineering, it has changed to 1,469. Remember that this web traffic also was doing the same thing. This one was also interactive. So now another
Yeah.
way you can do this is by bringing in a slicer. So now I can clear the filters here. So this is just filtering down your information. So if I click on a particular column, all other column is going to be interactive based on that first column that I've clicked on. So I'm going to remove filter. Okay, so everything has gone back. So let me bring in a slicer. So a slicer is just like a filter as well. Let me resize this so that a slicer can come in. So a slicer is what is going to make your work interactive on its own without you having to go and click on all these columns. So this is the chart for a slicer. Down here, you're going to see a slicer down here, button slicer. So we have different slicers. We have this normal slicer and we have the button slicer. We're going to use the normal slicer. So if you bring down this slicer now, you are now going to choose the information you want inside this slicer. So you can now, let me bring, let me make it to be department. So now if I click on business, every other thing is going to change. If I click on computer science, every other thing is going to change. So I don't need to start clicking on just the columns. So now this slicer now, I can change it. If I go here, I've clicked on the slicer now. I'll go to the place where I can edit the slicer from. So there's slicer settings. I'm going to make it to be in drop down, or let me make it to be in vertical list. Oh, tile. Okay, tile is perfect. So values. So I just want to edit it. You might not follow me to edit it the same way, but let me quickly edit it my way. Sometimes you just have to click on all these things to see the particular place you are working on, because you might not know the exact place you want to design. You just have to go round and round and round for you to be able to see what you want to design. So I want all of this to be on a straight line. I don't want it to be these 4 rounded corners. Let me change it to button slicer. Then values, buttons. So I'm going to make the buttons to be 4. Call out values. I can also change the shape here to be rounded corners. Then the layouts. Exactly. So this is what I want. I want it to look like this. So I'm going to take this down here. Then I'll put the 5,000 total students here. I'll put the 4 departments here. All these things that you are seeing here, you can design them, you can make it to be different. So don't mind that maybe the design is looking boring. You can design it to catch your fancy. You can even add your business logo. But I just, today is just to show you how Power BI can be used and the interface in Power BI. We're not even meant to do this today, but we just felt it's important we show you what Power BI can do. So I'm going to go back and put this chart here. Okay. Okay. So now, just a little practical. So now, if you click on business, it's going to be interactive here. And yes. So this is basically just a simple sample of what we're able to do today. I don't know if you have any question or anything you want me to change. If I should go ahead with the styles to show you how you can style it in different ways. Do you have any question? Hello, Mary. Good evening, Mary. Okay. Tofumi,
No,
it,
sorry,
it
my
looks like
network.
Yeah.
I, I,
Okay.
I think my data is exhausted. Let me buy data and come back to the class.
okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
My
Tofumi,
network is
I
really having
yes.
issue. I don't know.
okay. But you came late, oh, it's not your network, oh, you came late, Mary.
But I've tried logging in since. I tried. I even posted on the platform. I tried. It was taking time to log in. I don't know. I felt really
Oh,
bad.
oh, okay, Mary, we spoke yesterday, right?
Yes, and I promised to join the
Oh,
class today. I tried since. I don't know.
oh,
But
I'm
please, I will
sorry,
still
I'm
need the
sorry.
recorded part of the class.
No problem. Are you in Asaba?
I'm at okay, Kuku, Warri Southwest.
Okay. I thought you were in Asaba. If you're in Asaba, maybe you'd have just strolled into the office tomorrow. But it's fine. We'll have the recorded classes as well.
Okay, thank you, Ma. So I wanted to ask the other time, you made mention of the student data set, but I was a little bit busy. I was running up at the office, do you understand? So I was not really paying too many attention. I did not get how you said we are going to get that file. This particular one that we're designing with, I was unable to get the way you said we can get the file.
Okay. So you go to cargo.
Okay,
When you go
cargo.
to cargo, yes, when you go to cargo, then you're
Okay,
Okay,
going to see
thank you.
data sets. You see data sets here. So when you click on
cargo.com, I
data,
assume.
yes, cargo.com, Kaggle.
LE, yes. Okay.
I'm showing it on the screen. Can you see the screen?
Okay, yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. So now you're going to click on data sets, which I've clicked on. So you're going to see different options of data sets. So I went to education.
Education. Okay.
So this is the second data set, student performance and behavior
And
data
behavior
set.
data set. Okay.
Yes, so this is the one I worked with. So in this data set, oh, I've forgotten the data I deleted in the column. I think is I've forgotten. Okay, now do you
The
remember the
email.
data
Email.
we
You
deleted?
deleted the email
Yes,
as a
we
column.
deleted. Yes, we deleted the email because it was
Yeah.
not a correct information.
Yes.
Okay,
I was still following. The only part I could not get was how to get the file.
the
So
data.
now I get, and another question, a quick one, sorry. The other time you were making a measure, I wanted to ask if you make a new measure on your probably when you were like the way you were wrangling the data now, if you make a new measure, is it going to appear also on the other data set, like on the column? Is it going to create? Okay, then let me get the question very correct. When you create the difference between the measure and the calculated column, which one will appear on the data?
Okay. So now this new data now that we have now, you know that we've added
I don't know
total
if you get that. Sorry.
departments. Yes, so yes, I got it. You know, we added total departments, we added total students as new columns, right?
Yes. Are they going to
So
also
now,
appear
yes, if you
as a
want to now
column?
export, yes, if you want to export this data now, back, or maybe you want to now bring in this data to SQL, it's going to show.
Okay. Okay.
Do you understand? So one reason why I've not been able to do a lot, I know we've achieved something today, but
Yes.
will you be joining our main class?
Yes.
So for me,
I'll be glad if I could.
okay, you'll be glad if you could, but are you aware of, the criteria for you to join and all of that?
We will talk that. I assume so.
Okay, yes, we'll definitely talk about it later. So now I'll urge you to join because we can't
Okay.
really achieve a whole lot with this. Even this one self, I've even showed you some people they will still collect money for you to learn it. Do you understand? Because I've
Okay.
given you the basic knowledge. But with what we've done so far, I feel you can be able to do one or two things now. Maybe when you get home now, can just repeat what we did. This is just a very basic design. I've not even done any design, but this is already interactive. So there
Interactive.
is more we can do with this. We can even send this to Excel. We can even bring in a lot. We can do a lot. Then when you sign into Microsoft Power BI and you decide to upload your work on LinkedIn, they will be able to interact with your work like this. Not that this work, they uploaded it online, but we are still able to interact with it because the person that uploaded this work signed in with Microsoft Power BI. So we'll also show you how to sign in with Microsoft Power BI so that if you upload your work on LinkedIn or anywhere, it will still be interactive. So they're not going to be seeing it as a normal picture because with this now, if I say Control P, like to print this, it's going to generate a PDF for me, but it's not going to be interactive. It's just going to show me a plain work like this. Can you see? This is a PDF, but nothing is interactive. But on this site, this one was actually changing. Do you get? So these are a lot of things that we are going to explain to you at the long run. But
Yes,
for now, for today,
I did a little bit background check on that. I discovered that each of I think they are regarded as V's. Am I correct? The way the
yeah,
thing probably when you click on one, it gives the information for it. When you click on another one, it brings us other information for it. I think those ones are all on this dashboard. And the other day I
yes, yes,
tried using it. The only way I was able to get the document because when you save using the Power BI save, someone that doesn't have a Power BI will not be able to open
to
that
access
document
it.
to access it. So I tried saving it with a PDF, just like you said, and it was just on a few pages also. So
Okay.
I guess it's really a little bit deep though because later on we had to open we have to go through publish in order to make it live on the page
Yes.
the server page. So Power BI is really wonderful, sincerely.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much. So with that, I think we are done for today.
Okay, okay, man. Thank you very much.
Othniel, I hope you followed us so you're no longer saying anything.
Yeah, I
There's no
listened from the
data
way.
for you.
During
There's
our
no
last
data for you to do.
class with the assignments that you gave us, talking about that, man, I was happy that you were able to let us know that you can only use check boxes for other things. But sincerely, there are so many other people's checklists for their work. I mean, work checklists now that you see check boxes there. You just tick, tick, tick. There is always a way they measure it, like a count too. That was the question I was actually asking in the last class.
Yes,
So
we can do that with Microsoft Excel, but you know that the question you asked is, can we use checkbox when we are working with data validation? Do you remember? That's what you asked. If you can use checkbox and data validation. That's why I told you that
data
data
validation.
validation does not have checkbox option. It's just
Okay.
list, date, whole number. But we can use checkbox just like a form. You use checkbox to streamline your data, just like filter. You can use checkbox. That's very true. We're going to work on that as well. But for
I
now,
would like to share a document with you, Ma. You could actually put me through. It's actually a work checklist, but the data are so much that we input in the data validation. So if you are going to be using count if to bring each of the answered questions out, like the result that we had the other day, I
mm,
was asking those letters are too long. Are we going to input them after the count if item.
Okay. Send me.
Just
Send
like
me.
just like an example, the one you did, count if present was there. Do you understand the range that we gave? If present was attended to, how many times it gave the answer? Like two times. Present was marked like 2 times. I hope you understand that from the last class, man.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so if we're not having much letters, not like present alone now. For example, I will show you that data I'm talking about anyway. So for example, you have more inputs on each of the cell, not like present, absent, like they have longer
You
letters.
now have a drop down.
You now have a drop down, yeah. So how do we do the count if for such data?
Okay, no problem. Send me the document. I will check it, and then maybe next class we can talk about that.
Okay. That would be very beautiful.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, man.
Mary will send you the recorded class, Mary. Otnell, were you able to recharge?
Yes, I was.
Okay. All right, so that's all for
Thank
today. We're rounding up.
Thank you very much, ma. Thank you, ma.
Okay, good night. Okay. Mr. Abraham, thank you.
So
All right,
sorry,
bye.
man.
All right,
The
guys.
the assignment. How do we send it? Are we sending it to your email?
Okay, Tofumi, are you on the group chat?
Yes, I am. I don't know if it's the one you're talking about, but I'm on a particular one that I got this link from.
Okay, let me quickly drop my email on the chat. So
Okay,
please go to the chat now and get the email.
Okay, that will be better, man. That will be better.
No, I'm dropping it now. Check it now before
Okay.
we end the class. Okay, so this is my mail. Have you seen it?
Yes, I've seen it, man.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Abraham, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Favor. Have a good night,
All right.
everyone. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Nice. Good night, ma. Yeah, I'm muted.